Hey, how's everybody doing? Hope you all had a great weekend there, and I do believe it's daylight savings time, so everybody had moved their clock forward. So I had to remember, hey, I gotta do this an hour earlier as well. But I hope everybody's doing okay. Harold B, how you doing? If you can you let me know how the audio's coming in for you? Appreciate it. Thanks, Harold. And I'll be with you guys shortly. We'll be taking a look at a couple articles from the most recent Gerald Salente's Trends Journal. We'll be taking a look at the past interviews with Lynette Zhang and Ted Oakley. And then I'm going to touch on commodities. I think we've all been seeing commodities they've been on a pretty wild ride as of late. So we'll be taking a look at commodities. So Harold B, how you doing? Tweety Bird, how are you doing? And I'll be with you guys. I'll be with you guys shortly. I'll be with you guys shortly. Hang on. Thanks. Thank you, Harold. Yes, I'll be with you folks shortly. Harold B again. How you doing, Tweety Bird? Lieutenant Colonel, how you doing, sir? Patrick Bateman, glad to see you again. Or only Lord knows. Okay, what is upper? Gotta check what that is. Paul, how you doing? Sean Walker, how you doing as well? I'll be with you guys. I'll be with you shortly, 30 seconds or so. Let me just get a few more things squared away, and look forward to spending some time with you. Thank you for being here again. Whoop. It's always a Monday. I mean, it's Monday when your buttons don't work. But hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another edition of SBTV, Silver Bullion Television. I'm your host, Patrick Vieira, and I'm definitely glad you all could be here. A quick roll call again. Sean Walker, how you doing? Colonel Brumley, Carrie Ellen Wilder, how you doing, ma'am? Aces up silver, Bill Wood, 495, Pablo, and yeah, only Laura. Okay, greetings. Okay, got it. Yeah, it's been an interesting week last week. We'll go over a few things, including the interviews. And just a quick note: if you are new here, go ahead and type in "new" and where you're from. We'll see if we can go ahead and acknowledge you. And if you have a question, go ahead and type in a large capital Q, so Vincent and I can see it. Vincent, my colleague, is here, and then we'll see if we can go ahead and answer your question there. I saw one from Lieutenant Colonel. Let me see if I can throw this up here. Short-term price for gold, silver, and platinum, say 60 days from here. That's a great question because it is volatile. I mean, I think we're seeing all metals being pretty volatile right now. I mean, just take a look at what happened with gold and silver last week, but they've been pretty resilient. And then, of course, take a look at nickel. Actually, had to shut down the exchange. Nickel was so volatile, and we'll take a look at that as well. Um, 60 days out from here, I'd expect silver should be tapping on that $30 range, if not into $30. I think gold should be at all-time highs already by then. And platinum, palladium, I think everything should be on the uptick by then. But the thing is, what we also got to remember is commodities are real, and this mainly is what the live stream is going to be on, where we know there's paper markets, we know there's, stocks and bonds and things like that. But where we saw people moving was into commodities, and we saw commodities prices spike, and probably, probably because commodities are, I'll say this kind of loosely, the only real things out there. They are the real things, and people know that, and they're going to shelter down in the real things. And not to bag on crypto, but what we saw with crypto was, if anything, it went down, but it held. It held. But this is when we saw gold and silver go up. So I think we've even kind of seen where they investors in crypto, they know it's a great speculation tool for sure. But I think even when things really everything came down to it, they were looking at real things as well, real hard assets as well. So we'll get this live stream going. So again, Pablo, how you doing? No, Pablo, I didn't. I didn't. I'm pulling out my hairs. I wish I did, but no, it wasn't me that bought all the nickel that shut down the exchange. Wasn't me. Maybe it was Vincent. Vincent, was it you? I know you're out there listening, Vincent. But so anyway, let's move on here. So again, welcome to our live stream. We are Silver Bullion over in Singapore. You can find our website, silverbullion.com.sg. We do sell precious metals, silver, gold, platinum, those things, as well as nickel. But more than that, we do specialize in systemic wealth protection. So if you have questions about what you can do or what you might want to do, go ahead and shoot us an email at sales.silverbullion.com.sg, and we'll see what we can do. Silver Bullion SG is where you can find us on Facebook. Silver Bullion PL, Private Limited, is where you can find us on Twitter. Silver Bullion SG is our Instagram account. bit.ly, SBTV iTunes, or SBTV Spotify is where you can find the audio versions. And Crisis Tracker, if you have that Telegram app, t.me/Crisis Tracker, one word. This is where Vincent and I will go ahead and we'll post news items as it pertains to gold, silver, finance, economics, or things that may be of importance to you. So we'll kind of go through the weeds and see what we can dig out from there. So again, welcome everyone. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, this is true. I guess I'll put it up there. So yeah, I got a little bit of actually kind of a lot of back spasm going on, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it. So just kind of bear with me if you see me taking some deep breaths every now and then. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, thanks, Vincent. And Vincent also he had some surgery on his ankle, so we got to keep Vincent in our minds and in our prayers as well. Get Vincent healed up. So hey, one old guy. I'll let me and Vincent fight over who's the old guy and who's the young guy. But we'll see what happens. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, only Lord knows absolutely. People realize gold and silver are the real money, and I think that's what we saw going on last week. So again, as always, if you can, please do go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell to be notified on updates, and really do appreciate thumbs ups. They help us greatly help us. So thumbs up always mean a lot to us, as well as our upcoming guest. We got two good ones. Stefan Gleason, he's the president of Money Metals Exchange and the director of the Sound Money Defense League. He's also a polished business leader, political strategist, investor, and grassroots activist. Stefan has frequently appeared on national television shows and networks such as CNN, CNBC, Fox News, the Christian Broadcasting Network, and C-SPAN's Washington Journal. We're happy to have Stefan on. And Steve St. Angelo couldn't have a better guest at this time right now. He's the author of the very popular and insightful website SRS Rocco Report. And Steve is the go-to guy when it comes to oil, energy, and precious metals. He also has a YouTube channel with the same name as his website. So we are looking forward to bringing these two gentlemen to you. So again, please do subscribe and hit that bell to be notified so we can let you know when these interviews are up. So that'll take us from our upcoming guest to our ebook or Amazon gift card thank you. And it's going to come from a question from the Ted Oakley interview. There's something that Ted said, so we'll go over it. And we're going to be offering up a $10 Amazon gift card for our winners. To get that, Be one of the first 5 to answer correctly in this live stream before the timer runs out. US winners, you're going to be given a link to download the gift card. Non-US winners, going to have to talk to Amazon and arrange something else with them. Their customer service is pretty good, so it shouldn't be a problem there. And you're going to have to provide us with an email during this live stream with no other messages in the email. So those are the rules to get going, and we'll pass out the question to you now. Came from the Ted Oakley interview, so I hope you folks had a chance to watch it or remember it. I know it's been a week or two. So here we go. The question to win that $10 gift card. According to Ted Oakley, you need some type of insurance, liquidity, blank. According to Ted Oakley, you need some kind of insurance, liquidity, blank. So hopefully someone will get that right. Pablo Potts, yes, please do smash the like button. That helps us out a whole lot. As my colleague Vincent put here, the world is coming back to the realization that gold and silver are money. This is what we saw last week. Commodities have just been crushing it. I can't even wait to get that out of my mouth. I kind of mumbled that out there. Commodities have been crushing it. They're the real deal. Definitely the real deal. So according to Ted Oakley, you need some type of insurance, liquidity, blank. Some type of insurance, liquidity, blank. So we'll see if anybody can get it. Okay. Let's see what we got out there. We got assets. We have gold. We have hedge. And we'll see what else comes in. Backup, asset. Okay. Take a guess. You never know. Just go ahead and take a guess. Okay, let's see what else is out there. Assets, gold and silver assets, physical, hard assets, Okay. Okay, so time is winding down here, and the answer is going to be buffer. Buffer. So that was what we were looking for. It is true, you do need assets, though. Okay, let me take a look at this question here. I'm going to give it to 2 people, though. I'm going to give it to Trev R. You said hedge. Hedge is a sort of a buffer, so we'll go ahead and do that. And Jeff Logue, first time I've seen your name here. Welcome aboard, Jeff. Also said hedge, so we'll give that to Jeff Logue as well. So we're looking at Trev R, who had said hedge, and we're looking at Jeff Logue, who also said hedge. So we'll go ahead with those 2. Let me see. Matt Bittner. I wonder if we can expect to see high energy prices force people to sell their homes and other assets. $147 WTI oil. West Texas Intermediate oil seemed to do it in 2008. You know what, Matt? That's a great question, and I've thought about that myself. But I think the difference here this time around is back in 2008, people went into buying their homes knowing they couldn't afford it. Like I said before, you went to your rich uncle, you asked your uncle, hey, can you just stuff in 100,000 in my bank account just so the mortgage broker can see that I have money in there, and then you can take it back out. People were doing all of these types of things. And so back then, it was a little bit different. People went into the home knowing that it was a stretch to afford it. This time around, people either use their existing homes as equities or sold their home and bought a new home. Rates are down. So, last time around, there was a lot of adjustable rates. This time around, there seems to be a lot of fixed rates on the mortgages. So even though if the interest rate should go up, perhaps it may not affect them that much. But where they are going to get affected, where all of us are going to get affected, is in our wallet. Because even if our mortgage stays the same, if food prices go up, gas prices go up, electricity goes up, that's the same as saying those things stayed at the same level, but your mortgage went up. So, in a sense, we're looking at where the mortgage might not hurt people as it did in 2008, but definitely the cost of living is going to hurt people more than it did in 2008. So might we see the same type of a deal? Possible. It is possible, but under a different set of circumstances here. So anyway, let me get to revisiting Ted Oakley's answer where he said buffer.
You need some sort of insurance liquidity buffer. The problem among most investors is that stay fully in all the time. And this is usually smaller investors where they really trying to make that money work for them. The problem with it is when you get these downturns, let's say this market here turns into a true bear market that turns into maybe even a crash. The problem with them being fully in is when you get to a point where they can't take it anymore. They don't have anything to fall back on, so they pull a trigger and get out at the very, very worst time. Your ticket for being in the stock market is to be able to accept volatility. If you can't do that, then you shouldn't be in the stock market. And that's okay if you're not in it. But I think people right now, a lot of people, they're very complacent and they've gotten really strung out the last 10 years and they don't have a cash buffer. Have some sort of balance. Things that you could really get a nice piece of cash flow, gold miners. There's so many things you can own that will give you a balance.
Okay, so according to Ted Oakley, retail investors often cannot take it when markets go down or even crash and get out at the very, very worst time. You got to accept volatility in the markets. You got to be able to ride it out. And people have become too complacent for the past 10 years. What are your thoughts on that? They have become complacent because I think if we look at the Fed intervening in the markets for so long where you couldn't lose, why not go into the markets? So that has been a bit of a moral hazard there. So Trevor and Jeff Lowe, congrats on winning the quiz. Please email us at sbtv@silverbullion.com.sg and we'll send the prize to your email. So okay, good job guys, and we'll get it to you after the live stream. So what are your thoughts on that? People have become too complacent. Is it the investor's fault? I'm going to say partly, because he should really see what's going on. But then again, maybe not exactly, because in seeing what's going on, he knows the Fed is going to keep the markets up. So why should he move out? So Ted Oakley making a great point there. Let's take look at another clip from Ted Oakley.
If I were in Ukraine today and I'm wanting to leave the country, if I have gold, I can take it with me. But if I have one of those 9,000 coins out there, cryptos, that's not going to help me at all. And so you're kind of getting a picture of why gold means something in the real world. Forget about all the other dreams they've had here. But in the real world, that's why it means something. I think people should own some gold and miners, both. I think they should have both in there because that's a really undervalued group right now, price to cash flow in those companies.
Okay, so gold will help you flee if you need to more than crypto. Let me make sure I'm on the right place here. Gold means something in the real world. You should have some gold. You should have some miners. What are your thoughts on those? With the understanding that when you buy miners, you're not necessarily buying the metal. You are more than likely buying management. So always with miners, remember that you're buying management, perhaps more than metal. So I'll be interested to see your comments here. Let's see, Tweety Bird, good point there. Trading in and out of stocks is not investing. You know what? I guess you could say that. I think one would think of investing as being a bit more long term, and in and out of stocks is more trading. So that's a good point there. Good point, Tweety Bird. So let's move on to one more clip from Ted Oakley.
If you were to raise Fed funds to 4% or 5% today, it would blow up so many things. We have so much debt in the country, not only government debt, but we have debt everywhere. Individuals, corporations, you name it, private equity. So I don't think they could ever get there without just really ruining things because our growth rate is really slow, immigration's really slow. There's a lot of things demographically that don't work here. So I think they can't do that. I think that'd be hard for them. But what could happen is they could raise rates once, maybe twice, and then have to go all the way back to zero again if it didn't work. And unfortunately, that would just cause one more round of inflation in the next year. So they're in a tough spot.
All right, so raising rates would basically blow up the markets. We got too much debt. If they raise rates, they may find that they're going to have to make a U-turn and go right back to zero or near zero. So what are your thoughts on these? Let me take a quick look at some of the comments here. Let's see, 49 fine. Let's see, 49 fine. just try getting a kilo of gold on an airplane. It can be done. There are certain things you're going to have to do, but you know what I'm going to say, right? That's why you may want to look at the Cash Gold Token or CGT. You can find that at CACHE.gold. Maybe Vince can put the link up. And this is I think one of the best ways out there where if you want to buy gold, have exposure to gold, you want physical gold, the opportunity to redeem for physical gold or trade it on the markets, whatever you want. Uh, Cash Gold does that. And like I said, this is something where you can buy the token. I'm in Singapore. I can go ahead and buy the token. And if I want to go to the US, I don't have to bring the gold with me. I can just leave it with Cash Gold. What'll happen is when I get in the US, I can then redeem it in the US from a US company. And that helps me out because now I'm not having to go through immigration or cross an international border. So that helps me out a great deal. So there is a way. There is a way to do it. CACHE.gold, cash.gold. Okay, and then we had Lynette Zhang. Wait, let me put this up here. Lieutenant Colonel. So that's a good point there. Just flew recently from Florida to Michigan with 21-ounce gold eagles. No questions asked. Colonel, you're doing pretty good for yourself, huh? Salute you there. 21-ounce gold eagles. Good job. Good job, sir. Okay, and here's the link to that website, CACHE.gold. And I tell you what, this disclaimer first, I do have a very, very small micro share in it, and that's because this is one of the few gold tokens or gold-backed tokens that, from what I see, it's absolutely legit and it's what you want. And I've said this before. I am the type where I feel I may have to barter, with my gold or silver one day. I may have to do it. And the thing is, if I'm in California and there's something I want to buy in Michigan or Canada, let's say, maybe some issues trying to carry the gold over from California to Canada, across that border. If I have the Cash Gold token, and let's say the guy in Canada is selling a house, he needs to sell a home, he's willing to accept gold, I have gold, then he can go ahead and verify that the gold I have is real on that Cash website, and I can send it to him. And then we can square the deal, and there you go. So even in a point where you may have to barter, we got to extend a little bit where we can barter with people near us. That's no problem. But when they're not near us and a little bit further, we got to find a way to get our gold and silver to them. And like it or not, this is where perhaps digitizing some of your gold and silver on a token could be a solution for you. But we'll get into that perhaps another day. But let's take a look at a clip from Lynette Zhang.
I think that the world reserve currency is going to end up being the SDR, which can contain a component of each currency in the world. I think Pound absolutely 100% knows that the US dollar status is severely in jeopardy. And the world knows that it's easy enough for the US to weaponize the SWIFT system against them if we don't like what they're doing. Just like Canada showed us that the government can weaponize their monetary system against the individuals. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I want people to get is that, take a look at what's happening in the weaponization of these systems and realize that you are not immune to it. So you better get ready for it. You need to get and hold wealth outside of the system. Absolutely 100%.
All right, Lynette Zhang, she's right. World reserve currency will be the SDR, according to Lynette. A lot of us, we understood this, or we kind of had this on our radar from a while back, and then cryptos came more into play. Then people kind of shifted over looking into cryptos and CBDCs and things like that. But in the rearview mirror is the SDR. You cannot forget about it. It is here and now ready for international trade, international settlement. So you can't forget about the SDR. So that's a great point from Lynette. And the world knows the U.S. can and will weaponize the SWIFT system. We are doing it right now. You're not immune to weaponization. Get ready for it. You are not immune. We saw what happened in Canada, right? And there's a few more things I'm going to show you why we are not immune. Don't think you're immune. get and hold wealth outside the system. What are your thoughts on that? We're glad to have Lynette back on again. Um, yeah, Wuhan Rebel, absolutely. Tokenization does help gold's transportability problem. And this is where I say, if you are concerned where, you know, I don't want a chance taking my gold or silver with me, whatever it may be. This is where, tokenizing some is or can be a good idea. The whole amount? No, not for me. No, I mean, I'll be straight. I wouldn't tokenize the whole amount. But in the case of, let's say, like a lieutenant colonel, if I had those 21-ounce gold coins, I may consider one or two, digitizing one or two, just to get familiar with the process and understanding that if something doesn't go the way I expect it to go, then I do have some in the background that I can pull up and still get to if I need to. So there is a point there to be taken. So one more clip from Lynette Zhang. Actually, two more. Here's the second clip.
Right now, when the Federal Reserve creates a policy, it takes a certain period of time to work through the whole system before they know the result of that policy. Once we have a central bank digital currency, they can see how their policy is impacting people in real time. When a central bank wants you to spend money and you're not doing it fast enough, all they do is push you more into negative rates. If you're sitting there watching your principal evaporate, because that's what negative rates do, they attack your principal, and you know you're not shopping, what are you likely to do? You're likely to go shop and put it into anything that could possibly retain its value more. The goal is for you to spend all of your equity, because then you can't blame anybody for taking it away from you. Then you did that to yourself. So they're setting up to take our principal and to get us comfortable with those digital dollars. But that is 100% about control and tracking every single thing that you do. CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, scare the Hades out of me.
All right, Lynette Zhang nailing it once again. CBDCs allow the Fed to see it working real time. Absolutely, it's an instant tax collection. Think of Bitcoin and the miners, how to transact in Bitcoin, you're going to have a fee taken out. I would expect the same thing with FedCoin, digital dollar, whatever it is. Instant tax collection and instant way to enforce monetary policy. They can throttle interest rates. Time to save, time to spend. They'll throttle interest rates, and you're going to be kind of forced to have to go along with it. CBDCs will throttle you when you save and when you spend. It's all about control. All about control 100%. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts? Let me take a look at a few comments here. Jeff702, cash is trash. Yeah, I feel that way too, but I do know that for now, the time being, accumulate it. And, you may not want to leave it all in the bank, but go ahead and remove some, because you got to remember, when it comes to physical notes, I think it's just a small percentage of physical notes that represent the greater number of cash that has been created. So we have all this cash that the Fed's created, but just a small amount are actually physical notes. So if there's a bank run or anything, or the lights go out, whatever it is, your dollar's kind of stuck there. So you want to make sure you have dollars with you. They're the first thing that people are going to turn to. So if you have it, you probably will be in a good position, even though, yes, I agree, it is, cash is trash, absolutely. What else is out there? Let's see. I saw one, let me see where to go. Yeah, Beto D, I agree with that. Yeah, I saw somebody come over from Liberty Finance. I can't find it right now, but thanks for coming over. Appreciate it. One more clip from Lynette Zhang.
I think it's critically important for people to decurrency wherever they are, whether it's dollars or euros or yen or whatever it may be. I think Canada showed you the importance of holding real wealth outside of the system that you can access, but they can't. This is the only financial asset that runs no counterparty risk, according to the Bank for International Settlements. So I think it's critical for people to make sure that they can weather this storm with food, water, energy, security, barterability, which for me is silver, wealth preservation, which for me is gold, community, and shelter.
All right, decurrency, hugely important. It's kind of what we've just been touching on here. Hold real wealth outside of the system. Absolutely. I think almost all of us understand that. There may be a few of you out here who are on the fence. Maybe this is your first time hearing about gold and silver and things like that. Oh, it's a hedge. So again, your comments right now, for those people, they mean anything more than I could say. Help these guys out if you can. Help them to understand why we are buying gold and silver. So hold real wealth outside the system. Gold runs no counterparty risk. That is true. Neutral reserve asset. Food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter is her mantra. What are your thoughts on that? Especially now, we're hearing food. We're already seeing fuel going up, energy going up, and we're hearing food is going to be going up as well. So, what are your thoughts on these? Let me take a look at the comments here. Yeah, Ralph Potts. Sorry, let me put this back up. Yes, the model with CGT or cash gold token will also work for silver or hard assets. And what's interesting is if you ever go to that website, Cashed Out Gold, you can actually see the gold that is in there, the serial numbers on the bar that's in there. It's legit. It truly is legit. And I don't think right now, I don't really think any other gold-backed token can give you their full inventory right down to the serial number on the bar. So this is one of the bigger differences. Let's see. Yes, Klaus Schwab, you will own nothing. You will own nothing and be happy. Let's see. David Lim, how you doing over in Singapore? I haven't seen you in a while, my friend. Looking well and young. See, I can tell you're late. You missed the back spasm part. But anyway, how you doing, David? Glad to see you again. David, he's a good friend. He's over in Singapore. He was a customer at first, but quickly became a friend. So good to see you, David. And let me see what else is out here real quick. Let's see. Brad Newell, appreciate this. Pure character lifting some weights, saying keep it up. Yeah, that's yeah, you know how it is when you get a bit older, right? So appreciate that, Brad. Appreciate it. You look pretty young yourself, so follow your advice. Stay in shape, my friend. Getting old is getting old, buddy. Okay, so what else is out there? Buy silver and platinum for sure. Interesting with platinum because platinum is something that Russia does export quite a bit, along with nickel. And nickel, anyway, we saw it really shoot up last week, and we'll touch on that. Definitely touch on that in just a bit. But want to move on to a couple things that I saw from Gerald Salente's Trends Journal, his weekly message, going gold and commodities cashing in. So his weekly message, negotiate for peace or rest in peace. Now, since the Ukraine war began nearly 2 weeks ago, the word from the U.S. and NATO and repeated by mainstream media was that the Ukrainian military was holding the Russians at bay and putting up a strong resistance. Today, Ukrainian President Zelensky was praised for invoking a wartime defiance compared to Britain's World War II Prime Minister Winston Churchill. This is last week now. We will not give up. We will not lose. We will fight to the end at sea, in the air. We will continue fighting for our land. Whatever the cost, Zelensky proclaimed. We will fight in the forest, in the fields, on the shores, in the streets. We agree with retired Colonel Douglas McGregor, who says Russia will crush Ukraine, which we note in this week's Trends Journal. While we are doing all we can to promote Occupy Peace, the only talk making any news is war talk, and the results will be deadly and costly. Inflation is skyrocketing. Prices are surging, markets are diving. The solution that could help reverse these negative trends, negotiate for peace or die in war. And then we saw an article, Going Gold. Russia has amassed at least an estimated $630 billion in gold, foreign currencies, and other forms of liquidity it created mere its own internal payments network in case it was cut off from the world's banking system. It transferred significant portions of its foreign holdings to China, which has refused to condemn Russia for its military actions against Ukraine. However, at least 40% of those assets in reserve were held in countries that have joined in the sanctions, denying Russia access to them. Russia stored the rest in China, meaning that Russia can spend those funds only in China. To use them elsewhere, Russia would have to convert their assets into dollars, euros, or other currencies of nations that are part of the Western alliance, and something many countries will not do at this time. Meanwhile, China is unlikely to have large amounts of industrial supplies to spare for Russia, and China is intent on shoring up its own manufacturing industry and continuing to strengthen its export industry to grow its economy. And the question on the street is whether or not Russia will be able to withstand economic isolation for a long period of time, and what will be the impact of these sanctions and mandates. What do they have on the rest of the world, as evidenced by skyrocketing commodity prices? And commodities have been cashing in. The fallout from Russia's war in Ukraine has spiked global commodity prices at its fastest pace since 1974 during OPEC's first oil embargo. Sanctions against Russia and combat in Ukraine have closed off key sources of foods, metals, and other raw materials of which the region is a major supplier. We'll touch on this as well. The S&P GSCI index of raw materials price rocketed up 16% last week, its biggest weekly leap since 1970, according to data service Refinitiv, lofting it to its highest value since 2008. And Russia and Ukraine together ship about a third of the world's wheat exports. Futures prices for grain leaped the daily limit on Chicago's Commodities Exchange for the fifth day in a row on Friday, closing the week at $13.40 a bushel, a price not seen since 2008 and edging past that to $13.48 on the 7th of March. Wheat's price has risen more than 50% since the war in Ukraine. Indeed, as we have continued to note, the sanctions being imposed on Russia are being felt around the world, as evidenced by the skyrocketing prices across the global grain market. The price of thermal coal in Europe used by power plants set a record of $430 a ton on the 7th of March. U.S. gas futures climbed more than 4%, their third weekly gain, as European demand rose for liquefied natural gas. We've never seen such steep and sudden commodity price spikes across so many assets, analyst Henning Gloystein at Eurasia Group told Bloomberg. Until there's significant de-escalation, the record or elevated prices due to sanctions and disrupted supply chains will continue for many commodities, he said. Soaring commodity prices will stoke a torrent of inflationary pressures as the building blocks of global economy get even more expensive. And that'll wrap up our guest revisits. And we'll move on over to our website, silverbullion.com.sg. Take a look at how silver and gold are doing right now. I know they opened up and kind of went downhill after that. So silver, we're seeing it at $25.74, down some 26 cents. Gold is down some 16.81, is currently at 19.79. Platinum a bit down. Palladium a bit down. Nickel, I'm not sure if they resumed trading yet on nickel. I'll have to check on that later. I think most of us are familiar with what happened with nickel. So there we are with the current prices. Metals are all down, slightly down. Silver to gold ratio 77. Basically, this means you can get 77 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold, meaning silver is truly, truly undervalued. Miners are telling us the ratio should be 8-1. Historically, the ratio should be 16 to 20 to 1. And we are seeing it at 77 to 1 on the paper market. Spot price is just basically a paper trading price. So the paper markets, paper trading price is way, way over compared to what it should be for the historical price. And the ratio of what the miners are telling us to get, or they're getting it out of the ground at 77. Silver is definitely undervalued right now. So hopefully that helps you if you're trying to make a decision to get silver or gold. some featured products. Again, Maples, silver and gold. Eagles, 2022 Eagles. I do here in the U.S. The Eagles, the premiums are going up again. So we'll have to see what's going on with that. And then of course the LBMA bars. This is the one you want to get if you want the lowest spreads, if you want the lowest if you want the lowest price above spot. Usually LBMA bars are going to be the best ones for you. You can store it in our vault here in Singapore. We have 339 bars available. And if you want to pick it up, David Lim, David Lim, if you're out there, if you want to pick it up, make sure you bring your trolley. This guy is heavy, as I know you know already. They are heavy bars. So again, if you want to store it in our vault, you can go ahead and sign up as a Silver Bullion user. There's 6 different accounts: personal, joint, trust, joint account with the minor, business account, and a retirement account. Fairly easy to do. As in the case of a personal account, all you need is your ID and fill out the application. Just some general information here to open up the account. And it doesn't cost anything to maintain an account or open up an account. So as an option, it may be a good idea to go ahead and get that account ready. So just an ID, fill out the application. And then for references, this helps us out a lot too. Go ahead and put in SBTV. That helps the boss know we're doing our job here. So so that helps Vincent and I also. So we do appreciate that. And if I were you, I would go ahead and tick this box here. Basically means that if you get a message from us, nothing is in the body of the email. So no eyes or algos can see what the communication is. Then you can just go ahead and log into your account securely and communicate with us there. So again, silver a little bit down, 25.74. Gold slightly down as well, 1980. Maybe a good time to buy. I can tell you, I ended up buying silver at 26.24, and but it's okay. It doesn't bug me too much, because if anything, I may buy some more, or I know that this is my insurance. It's not necessarily an investment. So just to give you guys a heads up, I have skin in the game as well. So looking at Twitter, see what's going on in the Twitter sphere. Wall Street silver. Major exporter for the world with fertilizer issues. Countries are worried about domestic supply shortages. This is from Doomberg. Argentina has cut off exports of soybean meal and soybean oil. Global economic vapor lock in progress. So we already know prices for these things are going up. And Argentina is cutting off exports for these 2 items here. And it's a sign that you can expect these to go up. David Morgan, all wars are bankers' wars. I would like to take a look at this, but YouTube has been pretty sticky with copyright things, or excuse me, Twitter, YouTube. So that one, if you go ahead and follow David Morgan on Twitter, then you can go ahead and take a look at this one here. South China Morning Post: sanctions on Russia's central bank could undermine the U.S. dollar for good. And this is a very real concern here, where, with the U.S., imposing sanctions, weaponizing the dollar, weaponizing the SWIFT system. It's similar to what Canadians saw when, all they did was help support or express their desire to help people. And go ahead and send money to the truckers, and then we saw the government come in and pretty much close down bank accounts or freeze bank accounts. So I think people are seeing this, that, it's very, very easy now, or not easy, but we're seeing more cases of it where sanctions are happening even on your own people, as in the case of Canada. So this is something we got to watch. And as Lynette Zhang said, the currency, where we got to get out of the fiat system and move into assets that we can have and hold outside of the financial system. Andy Sheckman, God help us, the death knell for the dollar is here. Metals markets are breaking. This is true. Andy went to talk on, he spoke about the supply of metals, and Andy would know. He's one of the first in line when it comes to getting let's say silver eagles from the U.S. Mint. He is a distributor, so he would know. If he's saying things are getting tight, I would listen to what he's saying. So again, go ahead and check out that Zero Hedge article, or go ahead and follow Andy Sheckman from Miles Franklin. He'll talk about it, or you'll see that interview there. This one here, true or not, it doesn't matter. All you need to know is you'll be controlled by either government, corporate, or the mob. Pick your poison. Sorry, a bit negative here, but what it is there is concern that Elon Musk is being pressured to shut down Tesla's electric vehicles in Russia after the unprovoked attack on Ukraine. And this is pretty significant because, the thing is, whether or not it's true, it just goes to show you that these things, it could happen. I mean, if the government pushes its thumb down hard enough on you, you may submit. But something to watch as well. We'll see what happens here. Governments and corporate, they're playing a very, very a very powerful game right now. So let's see here. Get ready for this. I think if they'll link it up to your central bank digital currency to assess what you can buy and what you can't at the grocery checkout. Lab chicken and lab beef for you, mister. What this is, I'm laughing, but I shouldn't be. It's a smart toilet. And what I mean by this is you're going to go ahead and before you get on the pooper, you're going to go ahead and put your finger on a biometric reader so it can identify you. So-and-so is here. And when you do your business, number one or number two, it's actually going to detect what you have going on in your system. And then it uploads it to a cloud and to whatever entity, not sure, government or whoever is going to see it. And rest assured, you can count on this. If it does come in, health insurance companies are going to move into it. They're going to want to know what's going on with your body. Next time you go to 7-Eleven, sorry, no cigarettes for you, no donuts for you, whatever it is. This is something that this toilet, you can see it's 2020, and they've actually been working on it even before that. So if CBDCs come into play, I wouldn't just dismiss these smart toilets as monitors for signs of disease coming into play. Moving on, Biden. The American people think the reason for inflation is government spending more money. Simply not true. Let's see what he's saying, and what do you folks think? All right, here we go.
So I'm sick of this stuff. We have to talk about it because the American people think the reason for inflation is government spending more money. Simply not true. So I'm sick of this stuff. We have to.
Okay, so spending money, no, simply not true. And then we had Pelosi also come out, and she says when we're having this discussion, it's important to dispel some of those who say, well, it's the government spending. No, it isn't. The government spending is doing the exact reverse, reducing the national debt. It's not inflationary. So let's go ahead and listen to Nancy explain inflation for us.
Years. But we have to live in a year where even though the bill's for 10 years, they measure it for 20 years. And imprimatur said $1 trillion over 20 years is saved. So when we're having this discussion, it's important to dispel some of those who say, well, it's the government spending. No, it isn't. The government spending is doing the exact reverse, reducing the national debt. It is not inflationary, A. B, we don't want to reduce the increase in jobs, which we're very proud of. This president breaking records, historic numbers of jobs created in the first year of his term in office, and a lot of it traced to the American Recovery Act. But yeah, we're paying very close attention to it. But this starts with Putin because of global inflation for reasons beyond the gas price. Global inflation is something that we have to deal with globally, but we have our responsibility to deal with it at home, and we have legislation that does just that by increasing supply and again creating jobs in a way that is not adding to inflation.
All right, so The first thing I want to know is who are those two guys behind Nancy? I don't know. They just kind of look stunned with whatever she's saying. But when she says, it's not the spending, when she says, increase supply, you know, I mean, what is she going to increase? What is she going to increase? Because the supply chains are already kinked. What do you think the U.S. can start to increase? So anyway, that's Nancy. Breaking news: United Nations warns global food costs could surge above 22%. Supply chain disruptions, raging global inflation, asset hyperinflation, global central bank printing, all of these things going on. All of these things going on. So we'll I guess we'll end it there with that look at Twitter. But it's interesting how politicians are coming out and saying these things, such as it's Russia's fault that we have inflation. Really? I mean, I thought we were trying to get inflation for over a decade, and we finally get it. And wait, it's Russia's fault? No, excuse me. So please vote for people that make just a little bit of sense, because I tell you, I'm not the sharpest knife in the kitchen, but heck, even I know these things, and if I know it, I for sure know you know it out there as well. So let me take a look at a few comments here, and then we'll 49 fine. Okay, I'm not sure if I'll put that one up, but go ahead and take a look at 49 fines comment there. Let's see. Great Nate. No, I didn't. I didn't watch the State of the Union address. Didn't watch it. Did she do something crazy again? Or I'm assuming she did maybe. But no, I did not watch it. Pablo, exactly. Fertilizer will be hard to come by for imports. And that's a great point, because that is what we're going to be taking a look at for our main topic of the day. Things like fertilizer, they are commodities, and we learned that when the poop hits the fan or goes in the toilet to get red and go up on the cloud, it's commodities. It's commodities that matter most. Why? Because in the real world, it's commodities that are real and real things that have and hold value. It's commodities. So fuel, food, fiat, all taken a jolt during the past couple weeks, or especially last week. And for instance, we saw U.S. President Biden come on and saying no more Russian oil and energy. And then things got real. But here's what Biden had said.
Today, I'm announcing the United States is targeting the main artery of Russia's economy. We're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine. This is a move that has strong bipartisan support in the Congress and, I believe, in the country. The United States produces far more oil domestically than all the European countries combined. In fact, we're a net exporter of energy. So we can take this step when others cannot. But we're working closely with Europe and our partners to develop a long-term strategy to reduce their dependence on Russian energy as well. This is a step that we're taking to inflict further pain on Putin, but there will be cost as well here in the United States. I said I would level with the American people from the beginning. And when I first spoke to this, I said defending freedom is going to cost. It's going to cost us as well in the United States. Republicans and Democrats understand that. Republicans and Democrats alike have been clear that we must do this. Putin's war is already hurting American families at the gas pump. Since Putin began his military buildup on Ukrainian borders, just since then, the price of the gas at the pump in America went up 75 cents. And with this action, it's going to go up further. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home.
Okay. So Biden expects to use the word punish Putin. I find those words extreme, and I'll show you why in just a bit, but he looks to punish Putin and to make up for the shortfall of oil and to bring oil and gas prices down. And Biden actually called on his friends to ask them to produce more oil. And like I said, you got to watch Biden's words that he uses. So he wants to punish Putin. And then when he called his friends over in the Middle East, he had called Saudi, they declined to take his call with Biden during the Ukraine crisis, if you can believe that. And this is recent, guys, March 8th, 2022. So you're telling Putin, I'm going to punish you. And then you get on the horn and you call your friends and you know, at the tone, please leave a message. Well, what are you going to do here? So, the White House unsuccessfully tried to arrange calls between President Biden and the de facto leaders of Saudi Arabia and the UAE, United Arab Emirates, as the U.S. was working to build international support for Ukraine and contain a surge in oil prices, said Middle East and U.S. officials. Saudi Crown Prince, let me see as far as I can go here, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and the UAE's Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan both declined U.S. requests to speak to Mr. Biden in recent weeks. Okay, so there we go. And the thing is, why don't they want to talk to Biden? How come they don't want to take his call? Well, you got to remember when Biden was a candidate. All right, so maybe I'm gonna have to try a little trick here. Don't try this at home, guys, and don't tell your mothers either, okay? Because I'm gonna have to try a little trick. See if I can get this article to come up. Okay, so anyway, here we go. Candidate Biden called Saudi Arabia a pariah. That's what he did. He called it a pariah, and now he has to deal with it. So in a coming call with King, this is a little bit of a while back here, but in a coming call with King Salman, the president plans to warn him that the U.S. will soon make public intelligence about the Saudi Crown Prince's role in the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Remember that? That happened a while back. So this is Feb 24 of 2021. And as a candidate, Biden left no doubt what he thought of how the United States should deal with Saudi Arabia. His plan, he said, was to make the Saudis pay the price, and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are. The pariah that they are. So, okay, hey, you call your friends pariah, and if they don't pick up the phone, shouldn't be surprised, right? Should not be surprised. So when you call your friends, especially a friend that feeds you, and I'm talking feeding you meaning oil, energy, a pariah, why on earth would you expect them to help you, much less take your call? So learning his lesson and demonizing people, Biden said, let me call someone else, or he's thinking of calling someone else, and you probably know who he's going to turn to. He now turns to Venezuela, where Biden could consider easing sanctions on Venezuela. Okay, so following the sanctions imposed on Russia, the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden is considering easing sanctions on Venezuela. Gotta wonder. Jorge Piñon, an analyst at the International Center for Politics and Energy and the Environment at the University of Texas in Austin, assures that Venezuela does not have the capacity to produce the amount of oil that the United States needs. In other words, probably not interested. Maybe they're going to say no dice. So what might be the result with not even a short-term solution? Not even a short-term solution at the ready? What are we going to see? What are we going to see is what you're seeing now. Record-breaking gas prices could be here to stay. Here's what a gallon might cost you this summer. And this came out in March 8th, just last week. So the average, you folks will know this better than I would. The average price in the U.S. surged to over $4 per gallon this week as the invasion of Ukraine led to a new all-time high for the cost of gas. And these prices are expected to remain elevated possibly all summer, or at least until the supply of oil catches up with the demand. So where's the oil going to come from? Where is it going to come from? Western countries have been avoiding Russian oil purchases due to the conflict in Eastern Europe, which, along with the growing post-pandemic demand, has choked the global supply of crude oil. And so we can kind of end it there. All we need to know is there's no relief in sight, and trying to get more oil, supplied, looking like it may not happen. So the commodity we call oil is globally traded. It's globally needed. It's going up. It's going up. We're seeing it, right? Also going up is another commodity, wheat. Wheat is going up because of the fuel, and the cost of fertilizer is also going up. So let me show you this clip here.
Trey McCaig does this right now, Aston Farm General Manager. Farmers are trying to deal with this broadside here. And you're seeing it, Trey, I guess, even in the big run-up in fertilizer prices, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're, within the past 2 or 3 weeks, we've seen up to a 20% increase in our fertilizer. And we use a lot of liquid fertilizer, so it's, on demand as needed. It's really tough.
What has been driving it of late? You've been dealing with all sorts of price jolts, but this was sort of like something that picked up steam on its own. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the troubles we're having overseas, and that's been a big influence. I know our fuel costs. I was talking to our diesel fuel provider today, and literally in the past 7 days, diesel fuel has gone up 90 cents a gallon. And that's for off-road fuel that we use here on the farm alone. 90 cents in 7 days.
It's hard to keep up with that. What do you do?
Well, we have to adjust. We have to ask for, we're going to have to ask for some way to offset those costs, obviously. Unfortunately, at this time right now, everything that we're selling has already been set up months ago, so there's not really a lot of room left. We're in a tough situation, to be honest with you.
Hang in there, Trey, but you illustrate very clearly what's going on. The markets are getting ahead of this and sending these prices up, and you're left holding the proverbial bag.
Okay, and so to take a look at another commodity. So we have the commodity of oil, we have the commodity of fertilizer, fuel, and then wheat. Wheat prices hit 14-year highs, sparking rising fear of food shortages globally. Russia and Ukraine account for 29% of global wheat exports. 29%. Farmers are now facing massive hikes in fertilizer costs amid inflation and tensions in Russia. Okay, so we're keeping score here, right? Oil, food, fertilizer, all going up. A very real danger here, and kind of did this on a live stream a while back where we looked at price controls if inflation were to hit. A very real danger here is that farmers are left holding the bag and taking losses. So what are their options? The farmers can raise prices, but a grocery store may then not want to buy their products because consumers can't afford it. So they won't buy it, and grocers, they may not want to allow shelf space to items that aren't being bought. And if prices are too high, the government might bring in price controls. They may do it. That might make the consumer happy, but the farmers will then find producing price-controlled crops not profitable. They will either go out of business or grow another crop, or we may have to ration. And this goes back to that price control live stream that we did a while back. Something you don't want. I mean, you may think it'll help you in your pocketbook, which it may, but your lifestyle around it and your choices going to be severely limited. So let me move on and take a look at this here, where they want to label it Putin's energy shock is becoming a world food crisis, brace for rationing. Let me make this a bit larger here. Okay, the world was facing a grain supply crunch even before Putin's invasion of Ukraine. United Nations Food Price Index was already higher in real terms at the height of the global hunger crisis, or then at the height of the global crisis a decade ago, when Tunisian bread protests set off the Arab Spring. The tight global market for grains, vegetable oil, and fertilizers were probably one of the many reasons that Putin chose at this moment to strike. Calculating wrongly, it may prove that the West would not dare to squeeze him too hard. The world faces what amounts to a commodity black swan across the gamut of primary resources. Oil, gas, coal, and the ags are all spiraling higher together, with metals catching up fast. It's a systemic stagflation shock, an intractable problem for central bankers. It acts like a war reparations tax on the economies of importing nations and is ultimately contractionary. Okay, so we're seeing these all spilling over, right? All unfolding one on top of the other, and another commodity is gold. We have seen gold prices shoot up. I know you're smiling out there, and then we saw it go down, and smile went away, it went back up, smile came back. I know, I'm doing the same thing here. But so much of that commodity called gold is being a store of value, store of wealth, and the liquidity that it brings. And, it's being advised to be money. Okay, this is also happening now. It's being advised to be money for Russia. As the U.S. locked Russia out of the SWIFT system, the idea of Russia using gold was then put on the table. And it was put on the table by Turkey. Trade can be conducted in ruble, won, or gold, says Erdogan, as he told Putin. Let me make this a little bit larger for you. Okay, so conducting trade in normal currencies was among the topics discussed during President Recap Erdogan's phone call with his Russian counterpart Putin, according to a recently revealed details. Let me get the date on this for you guys. Also March 8th. Okay, so this is very, very recent that Erdogan told Putin, hey, just use some gold. So in a phone call on Sunday, Erdogan told Putin that Turkey is ready to contribute to the solution of the Ukraine crisis through peaceful means as soon as possible. And meanwhile, according to the information obtained from ruling Justice and Development Party, or AK Party, sources, the issue of trade payments between the two countries was also discussed. Sources say Erdogan told Putin, apart from the euro and the dollar, trade between the two countries could be carried out using the Russian ruble and Chinese yuan. We can do it with gold, he was quoted as suggesting. And Moscow is likely to seek alternatives as Western sanctions have removed several Russian banks from the SWIFT international payments network. Russia could, in theory, try to replace SWIFT's communication system that keeps international trade flowing smoothly. So, last couple paragraphs here. During the conversation, Erdogan brought up the issue of the 30 ships loaded with sunflower oil, raw material, and wheat en route to Turkey, currently waiting at the Sea of Azov, sources said. Okay, I'll end it here. So basically, Erdogan is saying, hey, use your gold. So we saw gold, we saw silver, two commodities known as money, but not just any money. We're talking real money. Gold and silver, real money. And we did see them rise up in the charts, and we saw them pull back a little, but extremely resilient, more resilient than I've seen it in a while. So we'll see what happens with this coming week. And then we saw this. We saw this where senators look to lock down Russia's gold reserves. So it's a battle of gold right now. Why? Gold, it's not just a commodity, it's also money. It's extremely liquid. So we'll take a quick look here coming from Yahoo. This is also March 8th. A bipartisan group of senators is introducing a bill to prevent Russia from liquidating gold to withstand biting sanctions. Why it matters. The sanctions against Russia have frozen the country's foreign exchange assets, but its stockpile of gold could be a lifeline. A measure to close the loophole is yet another indication Congress is looking to get ahead of the Biden administration on punitive measures against Russia. Okay, so basically, hey, Russia, go ahead and use your gold, and then the U.S. is going to step in, and no, you cannot use your gold. So again, it's a commodity, it's money, it's real. So when it comes to things that are real, they have value, they have wealth. Some even store value, like gold. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here with gold. And silver's going to catch a ride from it either way, up or down. So that should be interesting as well. So, what are your thoughts on this so far? I mean, are we seeing how one commodity intertwines? It intertwines with another commodity, excuse me. And in the end, a commodity exits. It will exit into the markets and into the real world as real money and or something of real value. So even though it's in the markets, commodities have that ability that when they exit, because they store value, or some or most can store value, they're going to have real value in the real world. So real money that is trusted to transact or even barter with, and this is money outside the financial system that is yours. It's yours. Lieutenant Colonel Brumley knows he took his on a plane trip. It's yours. Outside the financial system that is yours, and there when you need it, you control it. So I want to show you something else to show you how fast things can change. So when all this was coming out, Coinbase crypto came out and said, you know what, we're not going to freeze Russian crypto assets. This is the 1st of March. They said, no, we're not going to freeze anything. So Coinbase rejects a call to impose a blanket ban on Russian accounts. Other exchanges to reject the Ukrainian government include Binance and Kraken. Okay, so we kind of get the point here where they're saying, no, we're not going to do it. You're safe with us. And then we saw this. And this was just less than a week later, March 7th. Coinbase blocks 25,000 Russian addresses. Okay, let me make this a little bit bigger. And that's how quickly it changed. 1 minute you're safe, or you think you're safe. Next minute you're not. Coinbase blocks 25,000 addresses. According to an official blog post from today, March 7th, the leading US-based cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase blocked over 25,000 addresses related to Russian individuals or entities we believe to be engaging in illicit activity, many of which have identified through our own protective investigations. So that's how fast it goes. And the thing is, we cannot forget this, where it also happened in Canada. That's how quick it went, where people were frozen out of their accounts. This is really what happens. You leave things in the financial system, you are really subjecting yourself to these types of things. Where banks went beyond RCMP list of names and freezing a small number. If you're part of that small number, it's not small to you, of accounts under the Emergencies Act, the Bankers Association. So we saw that there as well. And again, these things happen. Fuel, food, fiat, all being controlled, all being fought after. Real things trying to be controlled with fake money. Real things trying to be controlled with fiat, with fake money. We know this all too well. Physical silver and gold being controlled by the fake paper markets, right? We know this all too well. Sad thing is, more control is on the way when Biden announced this.
U.S. President Joe Biden Wednesday signed an executive order requiring the government to assess the risks and benefits of cryptocurrencies and to explore the creation of a digital dollar. The president's order requires the Treasury Department, the Commerce Department, and other key agencies to prepare reports on the future of money. It's a first step toward coordinated government regulation of the now $3 trillion industry. Administration officials said oversight of the booming sector is essential to ensure U.S. national security, financial stability, and to fend off the growing threat of cybercrime.
What we have today is incredibly thoughtful.
Kristen Smith, executive director of the Blockchain Association, says the industry welcomes the approach.
What we want is a measured, methodical approach to analyzing this space. What we don't want are rushed policies that are pushed through last minute without open discussion. And in order to get a menu of policy solutions to consider, you really have to start with the type of analysis that this executive order is asking for today. So I think the asset class is at a valuation that merits this type of investigation. It's not too late. It's also not too early.
White House officials said the U.S. was taking great care to decide whether and how to move forward with a U.S. central bank digital currency, or CBDC. According to the Atlantic Council, 9 countries have launched central bank digital currencies, and 16 others, including China, have begun development of such digital assets, leading some in Washington to worry that the dollar could lose some of its dominance to China. Bitcoin surged on the news of the executive order, calming market fears of an immediate crackdown on cryptocurrencies.
Okay. Here's the thing. If you really want to know the future of money, I'll tell you, because this comes straight from the banks, themselves. As I've been saying, commodity is king. Credit Suisse, let me move this up here, says we're witnessing the birth of a, check it out, New World Monetary Order. This is from March 9th. New World Monetary Order. Former Federal Reserve and U.S. Treasury Department official and now Credit Suisse short-term rate strategist Zoltan Pozsar, he's very familiar. I think most of us may know him. Has written the U.S. is in a commodity crisis that is giving rise to a new world monetary order that will ultimately weaken the current dollar-based system and lead to higher inflation in the West. The crisis is not like anything we have ever seen since Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. Negotiated by 44 countries as World War II was winding down, Bretton Woods Agreement, named for the conference location in New Hampshire, pegged gold as the basis for the U.S. dollar with other currencies, then pegged to the greenback. This structure began to fray in the 60s as U.S. trade deficits became too large to ignore, and it fell apart completely in 71 when the U.S. abandoned the link between the dollar and gold. So let's see. Here you go. So Pozsar marks the end of the current monetary regime as the day the G7 nations seized Russia's foreign exchange reserves, followed by the latter invasion of Ukraine. What had previously been thought of as a risk-free became risk-free no more, as non-existent credit risk was instantly substituted for very real confiscation risk. What occurred surely isn't lost on China, and Pozsar sees the People's Bank of China faced with 2 alternatives to protect its interests: either sell treasury bonds to buy Russian commodities, or do its own QE, print renminbi to buy Russian commodities. Pozsar expects both scenarios mean higher yields and higher inflation in the West. And what another bank is telling us, again, commodities are king. Santander, giant Spanish bank, and AgroToken join forces to offer loans secured by crypto assets. It is the first global experience in backing loans with tokens related to agricultural commodities such as soybeans, corn, and wheat. This digital solution will allow farmers and agro ecosystems to easily access a new financing system, expanding credit capacity by using tokenized assets. A pilot test has already been carried out with the Argentine farmers in order to validate how the product works technically and operationally. So there you go. To me, it sure looks like that's going to be the future of money, where we're going to have commodity-backed money, tokens. So banks are looking at tokenized commodities. Why? Because they're real. They are real. We know the supply of the commodities. We know the demand of the commodities. We know the consumption, the time to replace them, and more. We know all about these commodities. Do we know that for a fiat crypto? No, we don't. Do we know that for an NFT? No, we don't. So I would say chances are, when they come out with these it's going to be commodity backed. We know the ins and outs of commodities. We know the history. So that's going to bring more stability. So I want to show you one more commodity of the many commodities that are running up. Only this commodity spiked so much, the exchange had to shut down trading for it.
LME is suspending trading in its nickel contract after the price doubled amid a short squeeze. CNBC's Rosanna Lockwood joins us right now with more. And Rosanna, this is really weird stuff. You don't see things like this happening very often ever.
Yeah, it's funny, Becky and Joe, actually, you're talking about crypto there. I've heard some people saying this morning that traders should have piled into nickel rather than Bitcoin over the last few months. Some people have made a lot of money in the last few days. This was before, of course, the London Metal Exchange suspended trading in its benchmark 3-month nickel contract in the last few hours. Now, I can't really overemphasize how historic this is. The London Metal Exchange is the last open outcry trading floor here in London. The drama on the floor must have been intense this morning. When you had it suspended, nickel soared above $100,000 per tonne. It then sank back to $80,000 per tonne before the suspension came in. I want to take you through the statement from the LME we've had this morning. They say the steps taken on the open outcry trading floor and the electronic systems are intended to maintain market orderliness while ensuring liquidity continues to be made available, and emphasising this in case nearby carries should evolve in this situation. Now, they are talking here that this could be a multi-day closure as well for the nickel contract because of the way the geopolitical situation is unfolding in Ukraine. So traders are on call for that, and they're also going to consider whether trades booked prior to the suspension should be subject to reversal or adjustment. Now, what we're talking about here, you mentioned that short squeeze. A lot of people are saying it's about covering these shorts that were there in these contracts. We've been warned throughout, leading up to this intensifying of the conflict in Ukraine, about Russia's role in the nickel market. Russia is the world's largest exporter of nickel, some 10% of the world's nickel, in fact. I've seen some sources saying it's 17% of the world's top-grade nickel. And why does it matter? It's a huge component part in electric vehicle batteries. I don't need to tell the viewers why that's important at the moment. But Nornickel, a Russian company, it's the biggest supplier of battery-grade nickel at around 15 to 20% of the world's supply. That's according to a JP Morgan analyst. So when you take all that into account, and then the situation regarding Western sanctions and how they're being applied to Russia and how this is going to disrupt the export of nickel supplies, it's no surprise that we've really seen the price shoot up. But I think big questions will be directed to the London Metal Exchange this morning. It's often called the sort of market of last resort for metals, and I've heard plenty of traders here in London this morning saying that intervention should have been taken yesterday when nickel closed up 66%. What were they doing before then? Why did they allow the market to open this morning to see prices shoot up to records never seen before in a 145-year history? And something else I want to add as well, when we're talking about covering these short trades, but also margin payment issues, the LME, this is according to reporting, has given a unit of China's largest lender more time to make payments on margins because, you know, there is going to be a massive squeeze on those margins as well, guys.
Yeah, Rosanna, look, this is a situation where you hear about getting caught in a short squeeze. Nobody feels sorry for you if you get caught in a short squeeze. It's a very tricky thing to do. But this is a situation where they closed it because they are worried about the brokers being put out of business, like it happened back in 1985 with 10 brokers. It's a situation where they don't want to see all of those brokers get taken down and then have nowhere to trade any of these things, too. It's probably important to point that out, that this is not doing something to protect the short sellers. This is doing something to try and protect the institutions so you don't see a complete washout.
Absolutely. Really important historical context. Thanks, Becky. And like you said there, the knock-on effects that could have to the wider markets as well, and making sure those brokers do stay in business. And it's worth mentioning that that China unit I mentioned is one of the brokers on the floor of the LME. So, yeah, it would have been quite something to be there this morning.
Okay. All right. But just like GameStop, where Robinhood stopped trading, that's what it kind of looks like, right? So did the London Metals Exchange, or LME, when they stopped nickel trades, essentially freezing the market? It kind of reminds us of that. The plug can be pulled at any time, and no one knows that more than gold and silver bugs, except they kind of just let it keep running down. But we know this. We see it all the time. And I want to add one more group in here who knows about being frozen out. And again, this is the let me come here. Sorry, let me show you the nickel price. Actually switch some things around. This is what's going on with nickel. I think it's still closed for trading. I'm not sure, but what we saw happen was it just basically just about doubled. And you know, at Silver Bullion, we do sell nickel. We do sell Class 1 nickel. That is the type of nickel used for electric vehicles. And we had a lot of guys who actually bought down here, and they sold. They made a good turn. They made a really, really good turn. So we saw nickel do that hockey stick, and so really, what caused it? Why did we see nickel just pretty much double up there? It was that short squeeze, as mentioned. Let me make this a bit larger here. So nickel prices more than doubled on Tuesday, forcing the LME to halt trading in the metals, or in the metal used in stainless steel and batteries for electric vehicles, while aluminum retreated from record highs. So there was some short selling going on, and I do know there is things starting to come out. JP Morgan was trying to protect someone. I'll just say someone, but they were trying to protect someone or some people there. So we'll have to see how that one kind of unfolds. So commodities again, nickel. In fact, let me go ahead and take a look at the. Just want to take a look at the price of nickel right now. See where we're at. Hey, by the way, we do sell bullion jewelry. That's one of our new products. So might want to take a look at that. So electric vehicles. Class 1 nickel, I just want to take a look at it and see what's going on. We do sell it in these 2-ton bags here, or these 250 kilogram drums. So, okay, I think we're I got it. Okay, out of stock. Sorry, so out of stock. I'm sure guys will sell it, and then we'll have stock again. So we have to see what happens when the LME starts to open up. One more commodity that I want to talk about it's you and me. You and I are considered commodities, and I mean, just to show where the world is going. I do hear things of there are machines that can basically incubate people. I mean, in order to raise populations and things like that. It's you gotta wonder, why a government would want to do that. They're talking about raising population, so they're creating these things to help essentially grow people, incubate people. So we're commodities too. We are definitely commodities too. I did have some articles on it, but I think maybe I won't pull that up. I think we've kind of had enough with what's going on. So I'll kind of end that with the topic of the day, and I'll move on to the commentary part. So, I mean, what are you folks thinking? Well, we're seeing commodities that are real. These are very real things, holding real value, giving real value to people in the very real world. It's not stocks, it's not bonds, but we're seeing these guys move over into commodities, pushing up prices. So they are real. So let me take a look at a few comments here. Ron, gold went to 4,000 after 9/11 for 1 second before trading stopped, and then it reopened. It was like nothing happened. I guess I must have forgotten about that. I didn't know that. So that's okay. We'll take a look at that. Let's see. Pablo is saying that the bullion jewelry, easy to travel with that and a Rolex. You know what? Two very good points. You can travel if it's jewelry. Yeah, I mean, nobody's really going to say anything. And Rolex watches. I don't know if you know, but these things definitely hold value. They are also a store of wealth. So that's a good point, Pablo. So gold, silver, Rolex watches, any of those things, you can walk about, and people may not think twice about it. See what else is out here. I see a lot of you guys talking about farming and animals, so I guess you're on the right track. I mean, food is going to be hugely important there. So let me move on to the commentary part. We live in a world where so much of it is fake. Fake markets, fake politicians, because they say they're representing you, that are supposed to represent us, as I just said. Fake money, a fake life in a metaverse, and you'll own nothing and be happy. Perhaps the only thing real are commodities, and we saw the worth of commodities when the Ukraine war started to expose the value of commodities and what real things really are worth. Above all that is life. That is peace, freedom, economic freedom, justice, to having your right to determination. You have worth, you have value, you are indeed real. As the world pushes us towards the fake everything, we know what is real and what is valued. Value your life, value your friends, your family, value your worth, value your God if you so believe in one, and value what is real, including real money, real money. As the powers that be push us further and further into fakedom, we have to know what is real to survive and thrive, excuse me, and to keep alive, creating our own destiny. Our destiny, not theirs. Okay, our destiny, not theirs. 2022, it's going to be the year about you. You got to take control. Commodities are things that can help you take control because they give value. They give value. What you're holding has value. That puts you in a better position, much better position. So we're seeing what's happening with the war, oil prices, fuel prices, fertilizer prices, food prices. We're seeing what's happening with gold as people are trying to move in. We're seeing what's happening with nickel because Russia is a big supplier of nickel. So we're seeing all these things where commodity is king. Whoever has the commodities will be king. So have some patience. I know the paper markets are throwing us all a bit off. Stock market up today, stock market up today. Hang in there. Commodities will be king. And if you have those commodities of gold and silver, other things, maybe land, I think you're going to do just fine. It's not financial advice. It's just common sense, right? It's just common sense. I'll take a look at a few more comments here, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up here. Okay, so let's see. Pablo, absolutely. Value your heart. Value your heart. That's the most important thing. You keep that in the right. You keep that well taken care of. You're going to be able to do so much for you and so much for others. It's how we, as we say, it's how you become a blessing and not a burden. Because I think we all can see already there's going to be a lot of burden out there. Neil Hahn, end paper commodities. I wish they could. It's, how does paper trading control a real physical market when it comes to gold and silver? For me anyway, it makes no sense. And traders don't really care. They're just there to make money off of it, in and out, make money. But you and I, it matters. This absolutely matters for us. It's our insurance in a lot of ways. So I wish we could. We got to do something. I understand there's a silver raid coming up on March 20th. So if you can, just go ahead and knock everything off the shelf. Go ahead, Go ahead and knock it all off the shelf. Give it a shot. Might do some good. Okay, let's see. Jay Delaney, appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Also appreciate all you guys being here. Let's see what else is out here. Heed the warning. Absolutely heed the warning. I mean, we've been talking about some things for a while. Whether it's commodities, whether it's central bank digital currencies, whether it's about control to now having toilets that may check you out from the outside. But, it's you have to have options. You have to take what you can to stay in control and understand whatever you can understand but more importantly, do something. Do something about it. Leave comments. Help other people understand what's going on. Let's see. Okay, so let me check something here. Yeah, Neil Hahn, God bless America and everyone here. God bless everywhere. We need it. States needs it for sure. I can tell you even in Asia, we need it. We need it as well. Let's try and be that blessing and not that burden. And with that, I hope to see you guys in a couple weeks. So again, we got Lynette Zhang. We just had her, but we have trying to remember who's coming up. But Steve St. Angelo is coming up for sure. So that should be a good one. And Stefan from Money Metals Exchange, he's coming up as well. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say since he's also involved with the Sound Money Defense League. So again, you guys take care of each other out there. I'll see you guys soon. And as always, saddle up for what's coming ahead and silver up as well. Take care.